Good afternoon. It's Bradley McCalister, Spiracraft Live, trying to get YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook to come up, and it was really slow. Facebook has been messed up this morning, and I like to monitor it, and I'm actually in the control room, so I completely blew my entrance today. But what can I say? I am here nonetheless. I'll make not a sliding entrance, I'll just come in gracefully. How's that? Hey, Joe. So yeah, I was all planned out. I gave myself a new intro there that's 1.5 minutes long. And of course, I'm trying to get Facebook to come up on a monitor, and it wouldn't do it. What do you say? You know, I mean, what are you going to do? Technology. At least I got a lot of things working. I think things are better. Hey, I got the new intro in there. Gosh, I don't know how this one camera is doing. I had a trouble. I was really upset yesterday evening. I was out here last night working, and my end camera over here had the jitters. So I unplugged it all night as if maybe it was overheated or something. It seems to be working right now. Seems to be. Facebook user says can't find you on YouTube. Facebook user, go to YouTube Spiracraft page, and you have to click around to find the live stream. So it should pop up there. Because Joe is in YouTube. I see Joe is over there, so I know it's on YouTube. So you should be able to find it. Hey, Michael, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Gosh, last week. So I was going to do this last week. Hey, Mark Thompson's in here. Good deal. And Shane, good to see you. So last week, yeah, an hour before, right about noon, I was in the office about to come back out here and turn everything on. I had it all set up. And all of a sudden I start hearing the sound of water. And I go into the office bathroom, and I go, well, there's water like spraying up against the bottom of my floor. So I shut off the water, called the plumber, posted that I had a major ordeal going on, and I was like, well, that really stinks, because I was so excited to do this last week, but I'm here this week, and my hair is getting longer, so that's a good thing, because I still haven't had a haircut, obviously, since they scalped me, but that's the way it is. So what are we doing today? Well, as they like to say, in all transparency and all that, fair transparency, I have never been I've never been a spindle turner per se, and especially finials. And I kind of wanted to learn to make finials. And Spiracraft recently brought in products from Planet Plus Rotur out of England. They came in a couple of weeks ago. They're now on the website. And one of the products that I brought in specifically for me and everybody else is the Finial Mandrel kit. And so I wanted to learn how to make finials, and I thought, well, let's give this a try. And so that's what this is all about today. Is I've got a piece of maple here, and I roughed it down last night. And I like to say, I'm not a finial person, right? I don't have finial designs. I haven't studied it. I just have fun with a spindle gouge and try and make something that looks halfway like a finial and call it good from there. But that's just what we're going to do. And what's kind of cool about this guy, it goes in the tailstock when we get here, going into just a little bit. And what it has is different inserts. And let me see if I can pop you. Hey, my dad's in here. Jeff Peters is in here. Let's see. Learn my new controller here. If I go to 7, that's the end camera, and it's got the wiggles. But I want to show you the different Delrin finial holders, end holders hold this, and that's going to irritate me. And they're 3, 4.5, and 6. So here's like the big 6, and they pop right into the end of the mandrel, and then you just pop them out with a drive bar right out of the end. So last night I was playing with this, and back to 3. I was learning about it because last night was the first time I'd used it, because I didn't get out here last week. And I found that you just bring it up just enough to touch, because there's a bearing in here, and as soon as it touches, the bearing will start to spin. So you don't need a lot of pressure, which is a pretty cool thing. Let's see, what's going on over there? My dad's in there, and Rich made it. Good to see you, Rich. and Jeff Peters, Michael McEwen, you guys are talking to each other. Cool beans. Obviously, it sounds okay. You can hear me and all that, and the camera's good. So again, I don't know what's going on with the fancy new end camera. It's got the shakes. What can I say? So I've got just a couple of tools here, a roughing gouge, just to kind of take this down into shape, and then 2 spindle gouges from Carter & Sons. I think this one is actually, this is a low profile 1/2 inch that they discontinued, but I happen to have it in the drawer, so I thought I'd play with it a little bit. Last night I did some experimenting with chroma gilt on top of a finial. That's what the program was about. I got mixed results. We'll play with it some more today. After I turn it, hit it with a liquid bit of sandpaper. We'll dye it black with some Spiracraft black dye. And then we'll play with some colors on it. And the color shift is what I was really hoping would be cool. But then again, you know, even I was talking to Nick and he said, I haven't quite figured out what to do with it. And I played with the texturing tool a little bit, which was on a finial, which was really scary. So, you know, I don't know what I'll do. I just get out here and have fun, and you guys can kind of tell me, do this, don't do that. If you'd rather see me do something, you know, I don't mind messing up. As you guys know, it wouldn't be the first time. I just like to have fun, and just like anybody else, for the first time in their shop, you know, you're experimenting with something new. It's okay if it doesn't go quite right. And let's see what's going on over there on the boards. Good deal. You guys are chatting away. All right. So first things first. Where's my face mask? Over here. I still feel a little out of place. It's been so long since I've been out here that I'm still finding, I'm still getting things put together. I did put the sound dampening in. A few of them fell down, but I want to show you what is all around the ceiling and the walls in this place now. Is these sound dampening pads, and they're self-adhesive on the back. I need to add some extra adhesive, but they've got all these different profiles to them, and I've got gray ones on the wall in case they ever showed up in the shots, and then on the ceiling are the black ones, and it has taken away a lot of the echo in here, I do believe, from what I can tell. And it also helped that I changed my mic and went back to the headset, and a little less echo and things like that. So let's get going. I'm going to set these down so they don't fall off, and you don't really need to see me so much, I don't think. So I'm going to set you up with an overhead and an end shot. And let's go with the overhead shot and with an overlay of the end like that. That should look good. And it looks like it's not shaking right now. So that's a cool thing, because it was shaking like crazy yesterday. So I'm just going to knock this down into a basic shape, nothing fancy. Jeff says, will the ceiling pads collect dust? I'm sure they will, Jeff. I'm sure they will, but I'm trying to keep the dust to a minimum, and I do have a dust collector, a ceiling dust collector, air filtration that I have not put in here yet, but it's over in the other building. I've actually got a couple of them. I just can't ever find time to get everything done. So we're between centers. We're in an easy chuck today. Sorby Live Center, rotating step drive, if you will, step center on the other end. Spindle turning is new to me. Well, it's not new to me, but I just don't do a lot of it. But I have fun. And my biggest thing is I get going and I just start making goofy shapes to please me, which they don't always look great to the world, but I seem to like them. So that's pretty cool. All right. Let's just get some of this off of here. This is some maple from, I looked at the date on it, from 2010, so it's 12 years dry. Came out of North Georgia. So I thought I'd use the roughing gouge just to get all down into the general area. without hitting the drive, and that's about it for that. Let's see if I need to talk to anybody here. I'll check the charts. Jim Brinkman, am I really live? Yes, I am live, Jim. Believe it or not, I am indeed out here in person. And I'm having fun, you know? And I get better about learning. Let me see. I got so much to learn with all these new controls. 3 is me up front. So, you know, my little face mask I like to wear, especially for non-crazy things. And I learned more and more to just raise it up because I still have my goggles on. So if I need to take a drink, well, then I just flip this up. The downside is if I do this and I put in the overhead camera and I forget to put that down, it shows up in there. So holler at me if I happen to do that. But I just flip her back down like that. You get better audio when it's up here. Gets a little muffly like that. But that's the way it is. And so back to program 5. All right. I'll become a finial master before too terribly long. Let's just you watch and see. So I'm going to back the tailstock off for now, so we can go ahead and start to get some shape into this. As Jeff says, this would be a great project to practice using your skew. It would be. It would be. But do you think I dared go live with a skew out here today, Jeff? You know how bad I am with a skew. Yes, Jim, it has. It's been a while, and I really am happy. I'm beyond happy to be back out here. And so, Jeff, to your skew statement, once I get where I feel really comfortable with a spindle gouge, I think then I'll start chasing the skew. And let's play with this 1/2-inch low profile. I got it back years ago at the woodworking shows. They sent it out to me. Like I say, I don't think it was super popular. I think it has some flex to it. But I'm going to play with it nonetheless and see what we can get going here. Jim, you're welcome. Like I say, I'm happy to be here. So I'm turning 1,000 RPMs. Nothing crazy. Okay. And we're just going to ease our way down in here. Again, you spindle turner / finial people will probably eat me alive. But this is how you learn. I can turn bowls in my sleep. And I do not have a design in mind, and I do not know all the proper proportions. It's just a nice learning curve. All right. And this maple turns pretty nice. I think one of the things I was finding last night is that it's so hard, and the tools are nice and sharp, and it's actually burnished, and it takes the dye well. But I was having trouble getting the chroma gilt to give me coverage that I wanted. Now the other spindle gouge that I have here is the little detail gouge, and this freshly sharpened up too. And so I did this too late last night, so I'm not going to be too late on it today. I want to put a little dome on here, if you will, or at least try to. Looks like my tool rest is a little too high now. And once I get this end worked up a little bit, then we'll bring over the finial mandrel. I mean, I have a ball doing small work. I'll try and keep those chips out of the way. So I'm just putting a little bit of a crown on this, if you will, or I'm not sure what the actual term would be. I do love, actually I have a lot of fun doing this kind of spindle turning, just because it's so good for your tool controls. You don't have any room to mess up. Okay? I mean, you got to be right on it, or you will I need to put something black under here so that you can see that better. So I'm going to blend this together. Like you guys know me, I am making this up as I go because I just want to. Alright. So that overhead shot looks pretty good. Looks like you can see pretty well. I need to get if I had a black rubber mat, I could take one of my fallen down foam pieces, but that would probably, I'm curious, just everything's going to stick to it if I do this. I just want to see. Boy, that sure does make it look better, easier to see, doesn't it, with that contrast. Hang on a second. Let me see what I can find that I can stick in here. I'm always about the view for you guys. What can I find here real quick? Let's see what we've got hanging around that's black that can live. I wish if I had a black bag, that would be perfect. A black trash bag. Or one of my black boards I use often, but I don't have that. Let's see, what's this? Black trash bag. Hey, you dig around in the piles long enough, you're bound to find something. This may not be perfect, because it's kind of shiny. But does that help with the profile, where you can see the profiles a little bit better? I know it changed the light balance on everything, but at least you can see the profile a little bit better now. I think I'm watching this. Yeah, it changes the light, but you can see that better. If this wasn't, this is just a trash bag that was laying on the floor. This is high tech here stuff today. We'll leave it at that. Just so you can see the profile a little bit better. I apologize one time for the wrinkles and one time only, and we'll call it good. Now, when I move the tool rest, which I shouldn't have to move much, that might change a little bit. All right, a little bit more work to do here to go ahead and get some of this started, and then I will just determine which of my inserts for the mandrel. And you see what's cool. So this is the big one. This is the 6mm. And it can go right over that little bulbous end there and touch up against below it. And as well can the 4.5. So I may go with the 4.5. Okay. I think I'll set the 4.5 as the choice for the moment. Yeah, you saw my visor there because I had it up while I was talking. Yeah, Michael, that's a great idea for the cardboard. And next time, I'll think of it and do it before I start the live stream. I was still putting the intro triggers in about a half an hour ago into vMix. I do like this little detail gouge. Yes, Jeff, to your point there, you can drill out the inserts, and they actually mentioned if you go on Spiracraft. And by the way, the sales pitch for the day is this mandrel kit is only $47.95 on Spiracraft, and if you read the description, if you click on that option, it brings up the full description right there up top, and it talks about being able to go ahead and drill out the mandrel pieces, and we can get extras as well. Sorry about the visor, I just realized it was up. Okay, so theoretically that will go right up there. If I stop at that point, right there, and I'll have to keep the chips off of here or it defeats the purpose. So this is all protected, and I'll go right up against here. So let me clean this up the best I can before we bring the mandrel into play. I'm going to lower my tool rest just a fuzz. Don't mess it up, Bradley. I love doing those little teeny goblets that I do too. Make sure that's still all cool. All right, good deal. So I'm happy with this. Am I happy with the nub on the end? Yeah, I think let's give that a real quick sand with some really light sandpaper. Just a little something, see if it takes care of that little nubbin right there. Because sometimes it's just easier to sand it up than it is. And this is 800 grit that I'm just kind of finishing that tip up with a little bit. Okay. I'm going to pop my mask off for a second here. And I'm taking the pop up here to 3. He punches the button for 3. We'll wind the sorbet out of there. Just drop this in. Again, let me jump into the overhead. Oh, don't do that, Brad, whatever that was. So I just dropped it in. It's got a little teeny lip on it. You just push it in, pop it in like so. Now I know that's out of focus because it's up too close. And that's all there is. And so as you can see, it will spin. So when I put this in and I'll turn it on and I'll bring the tailstock up to it. And as soon as that starts to spin, I'll stop because that'll tell me I'm getting support. At first last night, I was pushing, I put a little too much pressure on there. Not knowing, exactly how to use it right out the gate, and I made a little mark in it. So we don't want to put a little mark in there if we can at all avoid that. So put this in our tailstock, crank her out. So Rich, you and Mike are ready to laugh if I break it. Well, I'm ready to laugh if I break it too. Have you ever seen me get concerned about breaking it? Whatever I'm trying out here. Now I'm going to move this tool rest over just a little teeny bit. And now I'm going to turn it on. And I don't have the left-hand camera in place yet, but I think you'll be able to see this start to turn as I bring it up, and it just starts to touch, and boom, now it's turning. And I think if you look at the very edge where the dust is on it, you can see that bearing is starting to turn. And all we want is support so that we don't break it. And so that's where I'm going to leave it right there. It's just touching. That nylon or Delrin bushing is what's carrying the end of it. Okay. Get my chips out of the way. Yes, I haven't brought the compressor back in here yet. It's going to be outside and with just the hose running through. All right. Let's see what kind of wacky design I can come up with. God only knows what I'm liable to do. Because I sure don't. And the one thing is I'll have to continue to remember that I've got what my design is up there. Not that it's super critical in my mind, but let's have some fun here. And the other thing I am trying to keep in mind is that I want to color this. I want to put some colors on, and I want to try and come up with some places, some points where I can have the colors break, where I can change colors. Okay. I probably could get the camera in tighter on this, but then you'd lose the whole picture. But I think you guys can see pretty well. So I'm just cleaning this up right in here. Now guys, the Rich and Mike, yeah, if I had a skew in my hand, I would have broken it by now. I'd be the first to admit. You guys just want to see me mess up. Rich, is my nebula in the warehouse yet? No. But it should be soon, right? So I guess here's going to be my out. It's kind of hard to design a finial when you don't have a project for it to go on. So Jim says the EWT mini tools work great. They do. I've had a ball with those, Jim. The micro tools for doing small stuff. I've had a ball. I am indeed human, Michael. I am human all day long. And you've heard me talk about it out here before. I don't mind. I'm in some ways I'm happy when things go wrong, because I can show you some way to get out of the spot you got yourself into. Now that's fairly small there. And the question is, here's what I want to try and see if I can't make and not break it. A little bead just like that with my non-skew. There we go. So I've got this little teeny micro bead there. Let's see if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can just barely see that. That little teeny my little micro little bead. So if I want to color this something and this something over here different, I have a place that I can break it. I figured out a number of things last night that I can do with the colors. I should watch a Cindy Drozda video on finials. I would learn a ton. I'll do that in my spare time. So what I'm actually going to do to keep perspective, I'm going to stop. I'm actually going to, I can leave that probably in place. And I'm going to back the tailstock away for a second and raise my mask. Now I have to back up the tailstock just a bit more to get that to clear. So this way, I do have just a little teeny black mark there. I think that'll sand away. But backing this off helped me get a picture, because it's kind of nice and important to have that overall picture of what you got going on and what you're doing. Okay, so I've got just a little spot there, and we won't worry about that until the time comes. So I probably could have used maybe just a little less pressure. We'll turn this on. Bring it up just till the bushing starts to spin. Right there. Lock it down. All right. Let's see here. What are we thinking? We don't know. What are we thinking about? And it was kind of funny, last week I actually did a little research, if you will, and we as wood turners think of finials, somewhere along this vein. But finials, there's a whole world of finials out there. And actually my brother and his wife were going to make finials for the end of drapery at one time, for drapery rods. It was a huge deal in home decorating. God, this was in the 80s, and they were in the Atlanta area. And I don't think, Dad, you could jump in here if you wanted. I don't know if they ever made finials or not for the drapery stuff. You got finials on buildings. There's all kinds of things. Maybe we'll put another ring right there. Again, I'm just having fun fooling around and kind of making something up. Now here in a second, I'm actually going to decide to establish a base. You kind of got to know where you're going. So let's do that real quick. Well, you can get the Carter & Son tools from Spiracraft, guys. Mike, I'll fix you up. Let's see. I don't think we need to make this any longer than about here. Somewhere in this region. So that's where the bottom of it will be. What's down inside there would be the little tenon for whatever it might go onto. Okay, so I can take some more of this away. I'm not going to worry about what size this is. I'll make a hole. If I ever was to actually use this for something, I would just make a hole to fit it. All right, put this guy back over here. I'm going to flip that up. My fan must be on low. I need a breeze here. Let's try high. Let me know if that fan on a higher speed is messing with the audio or not. Clean off the chips here a little bit. Hampton Woodturners, you make about 200 finials a year. Well, you ought to be great at this. I've probably made 10 in my career. Maybe more than that. But it's just something I've never put finials. Where am I at here on my controller? I got nothing against finials, just like I have nothing against pens. But I've never been one that put finials on top of pieces. Just personal preference, never had the urge, whatever it might be. So that's why I never really learned. That's also like why I didn't learn to use skew much. I've always been a bowl turner. And heck, I never made a pen, and that's okay. I don't know if I never make a pen, I don't have a problem with that. I'll be all good if I never was to make a pen. It says you're currently in your finial season. You make them for ornaments. Yep. That's probably the ones that I've made when I used to turn with my dad up at the shop up there. I made some ornaments, and that's probably when I made some finials more than any other time because they had a purpose. Like I say, this doesn't have a purpose, so I'm just kind of fooling around. I don't have anything to base it on to look at. I don't have a piece sitting over here that I could put up and say, oh, this looks nice with the form that I have. We're just kind of going through the process of having fun with it. But that's great that you're all over the finial thing. All right, so I've made myself another little spot right here. And I think we'll do something with that, detail-wise. And then I'll finish up some shape, and then I think I'll dye it, and it takes a little bit for the dye to dry. And then I'm going to start kind of playing with some different things in the color. Like I say, I'm not going to spend all day turning this particular finial because it's not a work of art. I mean, it in my mind, and this is super, super basic, it starts small and gets bigger, and that's okay with me. All right, put my mask back on. I could actually be wearing just safety glasses for this today, but I haven't seen those in years. You know what might be fun? Let's see if we can do this. Yes, if I had a skew, I could do exactly what I'm thinking. Although it would be teeny. This may not work before I'm done. Like I say, I love this because you're talking, I don't know, thousandths of an inch you're playing with. Maybe 64ths. Maybe I shouldn't say thousandths. Maybe I'm playing with 64ths. So I put a real fine little detail right there. This piece kind of rolls around. Bring that right up there. That's kind of like a captive ring that's not going to get cut loose. All right. And let's see. What do we want to do with the rest of this guy? Let's make him go back downhill this way just a fuzz. Seems a little strong here on the base. Doo 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 doo. Like I always say, when I'm humming, I'm having fun. Just cleaning up that profile right there. The one I worked on last night actually had a big old hole in it. As I was feeling something, you can see a little spot right there. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's fix up our tenon just a touch. All right. And I saw some, oh, this is rough up here. So, what's the best way to clean that up? I think if I can feel it right there. Maybe if I come across it like that and roll on down. That got it. The grain was torn out on this very corner, this edge here. And now it's not. So I've got my little teeny groove right here. It's about the size of a wire burner, which I used to have one hanging on the rack in here, and I don't right now. But that's a perfect wire burn groove right there, that little teeny guy. All right. Now granted, I'm using this mandrel to support it, and this is not super fragile. I'm going to experiment. Yeah, I could have tried to make a toothpick, or I could have made a toothpick here just for the demonstration. Jeff says lunch has always got to go back to work. Well, have a good day out there, Jeff. Thanks for dropping in. Always appreciate it. Send me a text. Tell me what's going on up there. Looking forward to seeing 8 at AAW, almost 6 months away now or whatever. Okay, so I think we can take the mask off here. We're going to shake that guy out. Move these tools up out of the way. I wanted to keep them handy in case I needed them and not lose them in the myriad on the tool rack, but I'll go ahead and put them up on the tool rack. So let's take that tailstock away. And I think that 800 that I was sanding with might be all the more that I really need just to kind of clean this up. Mostly I want to see if I can get that little black mark off of there, even though I'm going to dye it black so it doesn't really matter. But if I wanted to keep it natural, will that mark go away? That's always important to know. And indeed it does. So I'm just going to run over this. It's pretty smooth because that tool is really sharp. I sharpened it just before I came along, and it just kind of burnishes this as it goes. Let's stop this and see what I got right here, if I've got to work on that at all. Maybe I'll work on that with right there with something just a little. Let's fix this right in here. It's got a little tool mark in it. So that's some 240 to go ahead and buzz that down. I gotta be careful because I get fooled. There's these little holes, little wormholes that the bugs got in this maple, and makes me think that there's some other issue. There is a little tool mark right up there. Let's fix that up, and then we'll run back up through the grits again. We're gonna dye this, and it's gonna change a little bit, swell up. One thing you learn early is finish always look thinner on the lathe. Once you take it off, it doubles in size. Yeah. Finials always look thinner on the lathe, and take them off and they look big and clunky. I understand what you're saying there. Alright, so that was 240. We'll run up through some grits here. 2 weeks ago I was out here sanding resin. With this is the Indasa sandpaper. I'm using the red line. This is Spiracraft carries this paper. It's great paper. This is the same paper I was sanding resin with. If you had bought a lesser paper, and I won't mention names or brands or anything, you would have thrown it away after that round of sanding the resin, and it's still all good to go. Yes, it's a premium paper, and that's why they call it premium, and that's all good. Like I say, it's kind of ironic because I'm sanding this smooth, and I'm going to put a paste on it that will hide any imperfection that was on it anyway. But it's kind of hard not to want to clean something like this up. Fix that tip is bothering me just a little bit. So when I dye this black, we're going to need another color underneath. We'll just go back to silver. Okay, I think we're going to leave it right there. Leave well enough alone. And I was going to get the airbrush out, and then I just said, you know, I don't really need paper towel. I don't need the airbrush to put on this little amount of dye. Now the one thing I didn't bring over from the other building was some sealer, and it is a good idea after you put the dye on to put some sealer on. Pop up here real quick. Where am I at? There we go. I'm going to put on this black dye, and I'll do this. I'll do it while I'm talking here. I had to make that executive decision when I was going to do this. It helps to seal the black dye after you put it on, but I didn't bring the sealer over. Plus, it's one more step of things drying, so I decided not to. So I'll pop back over to the overhead here for you. That'll be there. And this is the Nick Agar Signature Series alcohol wood dye that we carry at Spiracraft. Never dye wood on your lathe. Well, I did put down my paper towel though. And this will dry pretty quick. And it's just the base for these other colors that we want to play with today. I'll turn it on and let it spin in a minute. And that'll help dry it fast. I want to make sure it gets a chance to soak in. Get plenty on there. I actually brought out some accent pastes. I brought a couple things out to play with. The accent paste they don't make anymore, but I sure like the color. Okay, so that's all the dye that needs. And again, that would have, you know, I just put that in a little disposable cup kind of thing there. That would have been more cleanup with an airbrush than it was worth. And I'm going to step out of the way while I spin it so that I don't have black dye all over my face when I go to lunch. So that'll dry pretty quick. We'll let that dry. Two products that I have that I was playing with last night, and I'll pop in the overhead here real quick again. And these are two new colors from Spiracraft, and they're color shifts. So blue violet, let me get over there, blue violet and gold green, and they need a color underneath to work against. So like that's why this is black. When I open these up, when I open up the tube, it does not, it's just like an interference mica. Obviously that is not green or blue or any other color. All right, it takes a color to bounce off of. It looks white right now, okay? So we'll play with these a little bit. What else have I got out here? And I might try them. I've got a couple other things so I can try them on. I've got some verdigris color. This is all chroma gilt. I brought out some old accent paste. This is metallic blue. I wish they would have not stopped making this stuff. I got some Viking silver, and this one is gold pearl. I think that became Egyptian gold. I'm not sure, because I get stuff from Spiracraft before it's on the market. Yeah, so we'll see what that is. And you can see here that it's drying down pretty quick. It's a little bit is still wet right there. The rest of it's going flat. So it'll be dry pretty soon. So if you got any kind of questions about any of these things while we're waiting for that to dry, just go ahead and pop them up in the comment column there. Again, that's the Rotur Finial Mandrel kit. Pretty cool thing. 47 bucks. Comes with the 3 inserts. Supports your finial. Even a guy like me who's not a finial guy can make one and not break it. Not that it's super fragile, is a good way to put it. I love making goblets. That's one where Jim, if you're still in here, I think Jim's seen me do it. I'll make goblets that are about the cup is about the size of your finger, and then the stem is about like a toothpick, something like that. And then it's got a little base, and they're only 3/4 of an inch tall. They're kind of fun. And I used to do those with the EasyWood tools, the little micro tools. These little guys. When they came out, I had a ball. I did a whole seminar at the woodworking shows using just the micro tools and turning micro things. Do I sell gilt colors in sets? We don't, but we should. And so now that you bring that up, I will put together a set. It's something Spiracraft doesn't have them as sets, and they've added a bunch of new colors. These color shifts, plus a white and a black and a couple of others. So that line keeps growing. So that is a great idea to make up a set of the gilts. And if you're interested in getting a set of gilts, even before they happen, shoot me an email and at info or Bradley at Spiracraft, and I'll work up a package for you. You tell me what colors you want and how many, and I'll work up a little discount code for you. That goes for anybody who's listening today, or if you catch this in the not too distant future before the packages are made up. I have to go look at the numbers. I think there's like 9 or 12 colors now. I know we have packages for the dyes and for the markers. The markers is the one that kills me. There's 15 colors of markers in the alcohol dye markers, and there's 14 in the big pack, and 8. So go figure. I haven't figured that one out yet. But yeah, that's a great idea to make packages of these. Like the Viking silver is super popular, the verdigris is super popular, the Egyptian gold, the amethyst, the sapphire blue. There's 5. So I probably could come up with a 6-pack of real popular colors with like no thought whatsoever. And that's a great idea. I might even try and get that together. Well, I got to leave town in the morning. I don't know if I'll get it today, but I will do that next week. But like I say, if you're interested and you want a group of them, I'll make a code for you, and I'll give you a discount if you for 6 or more. Since you brought it up, and it's a great idea, I'll make you a discount code, and you can get in there and get 6 or more and save yourself some money. Be happy to do that, and that I can do today. I won't be too far away from the office. I'll probably be in there all afternoon, so that can definitely do that. All right. Just email me, and we can have phone chat, or we can just go back and forth email. Either way, it's all good. So I got this guy spinning here. I don't know what I want to do. I know I got mixed results last night. You do want to wear gloves with the creams and the gilts and all that. And so I know if I use the verdigris, you won't be able to see it. It'll turn gray because it's in the chroma key. You'll only see it in the overhead and the end shot. in the faraway shot, it'll disappear, which is okay. So you guys should be proud of me, those who've watched me for years. I actually had the gloves here ready to go. I didn't have to go hunt for them. You haven't seen me knock on the lathe, hunt for anything yet today. So, after a couple of years, I'm starting to get better at this. I want to make the top, the very, very top, and I think I'll switch over to the overhead for you now as the main. You've seen enough of my mug. So let's go to the overhead. Turn that over. I know what will work now that I think I can put up here. Yeah, I know I can. I'll get a few things out of the way. How's that? I just didn't have room for that piece of foam before. All right. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll lock it in with the banjo so it doesn't go anywhere. Rich says, who is the person pretending to be Bradley? Bradley is never prepared. Well, an old dog can learn new tricks, Rich. At 62, he's starting to learn a couple of things, or at least try to. I want to make this very tip right here silver, okay? And so I'm going to find the Viking silver that I said I had. Here it is. This is the Viking silver. And if you've never worked with the chromogilt before, you use very, very small amount, okay? So just a little bit, and your thumb and your finger, your thumb's like a palette. And you just load a little teeny bit and get it between your fingers, all right? Now the hard part is going to be deciding, where do I stop this color? And I'm going to try it turning, and I got my speed control. Let me move that. Let's see if we can get this to do what we want with it spinning. See, like I said, the hard part is going to be defining the line. I have found that you can wipe it off. So I like that little teeny silver tip on there, right? And I could theoretically go through like about a dozen pair of gloves doing this today. But I want to leave that just that amount silver. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some paper towels instead of changing gloves a dozen times. I'm going to try and kind of clean my gloves off with paper towel and then come back with another color. And if we're going to put some colors over top of others. Excuse me. So if we get a color bleed out of, I can get most of this off with the paper towel. Now that's really small down in there. And the other thing that I brought out is a good old toothbrush. And you can apply this with a toothbrush or other mediums, especially like if you're doing textured things. I got this little piece of textured stuff here. You can take a toothbrush and work it down in there and then wipe off the excess so you have multiple colors and things like that. So here I want to do this next section, and this could be the ugliest thing I've ever done, or not. This is the verdigris, and I want to see if I can get it on there in a very, very fine little area. And if it doesn't work, this is pretty consistency is much wetter than the last one was. So I've got quite a bit on my fingers here. Get it in focus there. I've got the focus locked. So let's see if I can keep this in a certain area or not, and get enough on there to make a difference. I just want it between, and this is the first time I've tried it like this, between these two spots. It's so low viscosity that it's hard to get it to stay on there with it spinning. Try turning it off. And turn it by hand. That's a little better. It probably, what I'm going to have to do, and this is where you mess up, is if I let that dry, I could put on a second. So this is really liquid. What I might need to do is really, this verdigris is a number of years old, and what I'm doing right now, I'll put the lid on, and I'm going to try and kind of work that around in the tube, even though what's at the very tip is still going to be the liquid part. And you use so little, it's probably not going to make a difference there to get that mixed up. And if this color doesn't work right there, well, we'll try something different. I don't think it's going to do what I want it to do. No. Okay, it's too runny. That batch is too liquid, but I have another plan. Okay. So we're going to turn the lathe back on. I'm sure I can pop that right off of there for the most part. Comes right off. We can come back up to that silver and clean that up. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to an accent paste, which they still have white. They kept liming white. This is a metallic blue, and it's really thick. I'm still trying to convince them to make it again, but I'm not having much luck. So I have to get a little excess on there, and we'll clean that off. Okay. So we'll clean it off of below there. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try one of these other colors because it'd be kind of fun to see if it will blend. And I'm going to go with the blue violet. And see, I'm going to put the blue violet in through here up against that other blue that we just put on. And again, this is the color shift, so it's iridescent. That's what makes it shift. And so it doesn't have any color until you put it on a dark background. And again, with it moving on a smooth piece like this, it's really designed for textured pieces. And I took my texture tool to it last night. And it's really designed to be worked with texture, but I always like to try other things. And see what I can get, because you just never know. So that's a pretty cool color up in the top there. And the blue violet, and you definitely see the violet in this. The hard part is not getting the streaks, the spinning streaks. With it turning, it's the easiest way to apply it. The flip side is you get the marks from it spinning. And with time, you can come back and repeat. Let the first coat dry, and then you could repeat it. You see how if I'm not careful, I get those marks. and let that, it dries pretty quick. But we have two different colors depending on the angle there, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, this, you know, the blue up there you can't buy anymore, but the blue violet, I mean, that's pretty cool. And you see it's a little different. I'm looking at the monitors, and I'm looking at Facebook. So the colors all look different. I see 3 different color versions of this. I see reality, and then I see what I'm seeing on Facebook. I don't have a YouTube monitor up. And then I'm looking at my actual feed monitor. And it's a little more violet than probably what you're seeing out there in reality. Just so you know. I mean, it's still super beautiful, but it's a little more violet than blue. Get that thing out of the way. And so, you know, this color up here, that accent paste that you can't buy, well, maybe I shouldn't have that. That's kind of a weird color there. Maybe I should bring this right up to the silver. I think that's what I'll try, because that in between there kind of looks weird. So let's just try doing this. That kind of brings it together a little bit more. There we go. You know, and if you, it's kind of funny, and I'm going to do this on purpose. If you wanted a black line, you can come in there and just do that. And take that right off, that section. If you want to highlight, if you want, you know, a dark highlight, if you will. So a lot of different things that we can do and play with. Now, I've got this next section. And I'm going to switch over the colors. So, you know, sometimes when you're experimenting, and again, the cool thing is you could just, if you didn't like the way it comes out, what's what I like about working with colors. I'll pop up here for a second. One of the fun things about working with colors, a lot of times it's an experiment until you get it figured out. And if you don't like the way this worked out, you might wipe it off while it's still wet if you can. Otherwise, you shoot it with a coat of flat black lacquer. The dye is not going to really dye it. Just paint it again and come back in with a different set of colors or a different approach. That's the beauty of working with colors. You can change them on a lot of the different projects. I used to work with a water-based dye a lot, and I would do a spider type of pattern over top of the lacquer. And since it was water-based, if I didn't like the way it looked, I would just take a wet paper towel and take it all off and do it again. And then when I got where I liked it, I would lock it in with another coat of lacquer and do the next set of spider webs, if you will. So, you know, colors are pretty forgiving. They're also, it's dangerous because if you think if you put it on there and you make a mistake, well, you own it. But that's not necessarily true. You can come back and change it and redo it. There are some cases where you can't, just depending on the piece. I mean, you can always sand it off, the worst case scenario, but that's a lot of work. You don't really want to go there. So, all right. So I still got this stuff all over my hands, and I want to go ahead and go to the green gold down here. I'll pop you back into the overhead. I'm looking at the time. See, we've got 2:11. Now here about an hour and 10 minutes then. So that looks really gold on my fingers, and it is gold green. And like I say, I know for a fact, if I were to let this dry for, because it's spinning maybe half hour, an hour, and come back, I could put another coat on, and it wouldn't move it around, because right now, you know, it's wet and it's just moving around. Of course, that little stripe is kind of cool in its own way. I mean, if you look at it stopped, it looks like crap, so we're not going to leave it there. And just play with different techniques. So what I did there just now is I moved my finger back and forth really fast instead of slow, and I get much better coverage by doing that. So let me try that over here if I can find a way to move my finger back and forth real fast in there. It's all about finding the technique that makes it do what you need. I'm running up against this piece of wood right here. But you see how when I go fast, if I move it back and forth really fast, I don't get the streaks and all that. Now, I made my own little problem in here. I made this cool little divot. Part of me says, take this silver up on the top and stick it down in here. I like the black too. There's a lot of different ways you could go. We could highlight that silver again and break it up, or we could just bring this color on down. There's a million different things that you can do, and it's totally up to you what you do with it. The hard part is going to be getting color down in that little teeny groove. And so here's what I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try, if I mess it up, I mess it up. That's why we're here, to learn and have fun. Okay? And I'm going to get my hands a little bit cleaner here. Still keep the same gloves on. I'm going to take the silver on a toothbrush and try and get the silver down in, depends on how worn out and stiff this toothbrush is. That's pretty stiff. How about this one? All right, this one's soft. So, worn out toothbrush and Viking silver. I want to get it down in that last little teeny groove, or I could leave that last little groove out. And I think you know what I'm talking about. I hope you can see down in there. There is a little teeny groove down in there. So we're going to put this on the toothbrush, work it in a little bit. First time I've ever used a toothbrush on a piece that was spinning. And that gets me right up to, but not down in that one black groove. A little bit more. There we go. There, that's what I wanted. So now, hopefully you can see that just made that little teeny black groove that I've got there. The one I talked about being like a wire burn size. That one now shows up. And so I can take my finger and do that. Okay. Sponge, yeah, you could use a sponge to apply this stuff. You can try all kinds of things. Small, is that? I can't quite read this far away. Spring brushes, I think it says, to apply it. You can apply with anything. Anything that you can come up with, you can certainly apply it with. And let's stop that for a second. And again, what I would do is I would let this dry optimally, and I would come back and add these colors again, and it would be much more defined. because that first coat would dry. The other thing you could do is once they dry, you could put a coat of sealer over it. And when you're all done, you do want to put a coat of finish on it. The WRU-40 that we have, or WRU-20, excuse me, it's a water-based urethane. It's white like any other water-based, but it dries clear. And the cool thing about it is it doesn't have any sheen to it. It's essentially flat, but it's not a flattener. It doesn't flatten it out. It just looks natural. It looks just like it does now. It's probably the most invisible finish I've seen, and it's a Spiracraft product, the WRU-20, water-based urethane. Put that on there, that'll protect it, seal it all up, and you won't ever have any trouble, and it doesn't change the way it looks, so it's pretty cool. And that needs a little cleaning here, and that silver may or may not be a good idea. It's hard to say. As I look at it, part of me wants to say, hey, I should just take the, whatever was that color, the violet, the blue violet, and run the blue violet all the way down there to the green. Let me put you back in the overhead. Part of me says that I should just take this blue violet and run it all the way down to here and just have the green and gold base and that up to there and just the silver top, something like that. It's always interesting what you can come up with, and I just kind of stick those guys. They're down and out of focus now, but pretty cool deal. And it looks like everything worked pretty well today. I think I'm going to pop up here and say, hey, I've had fun. I'm going to take these gloves off. I am open for any kind of questions. If anybody's around that has any questions they might want to ask about before we shut down and go ahead for lunch. Jeff, you just jumped in and I just wrapped up. Catch the replay. Catch the replay. You're on Facebook. Watch the replay here because I'm about to wrap up. But we've been out here since 1 o'clock, so it's an hour and hour and 20 minutes. About an hour and 20 minutes we've been on. It's good to see you again. Rich says, question, what will you turn the when will I turn the Manzanita burl? I guess I need to turn that Manzanita burl next week because it seems like that's a very common question. All I got to do, Rich, is find it. It's somewhere in my office, which if you've seen my office recently, if you think this place gets messy out here, you should see my office. But yeah, I'll find the Manzanita burl. Now, here's my question. What would you like me to do with the Manzanita burl? Great deal, like I say. Hampton Wood Turning. It'd be great to know your first name, too, your real name, but you can stay secret out here. Look forward to talking to you in email or on a phone call. Been turned trees and snowmen. You've been turning trees and snowmen, Jeff. Good deal. God, it's so fun to be out here. I wasn't out here most of the summer. I think shortly after, maybe AAW, I got out here once, and then I got sick for a little while. I'm all better for that. And then I had SWAT in Waco. Then I was up in Lancaster, PA, for a show. I don't think I'm going anywhere. The woodworking shows is trying to get put back together, but honestly, I haven't seen any signs of life there, so I don't know what's going to happen. If I hear anything about it, I'll let you all know. All right, I got it. Scott, well, thanks for coming out here today, Scott. Enjoyed having you here with us, and I hope you come along and join me every week. You never know what I'm up to. It sounds like I'm turning a Manzanita burl next week. But I got to figure out what to do with it. But I'll come up with something. So I think we're going to wrap it up. Unless there's any kind of questions, new questions. He just says, Fix Valley Wood Turning Club. Good deal. Good deal. Rich says, woohoo. Now, Rich, you got to tell me what you want me to do with it. If you leave it up to me, and God knows what you're going to get, and I only get one shot at it. So that'll be fun. So I will tentatively, assuming I can find it, turn the Manzanita burl that was provided to me by Rich Bolduc from Nova. In case you guys don't know, if you ever need anything, questions answered, contact Rich down there at Nova Technitool. He's the man. He now, I believe, he's probably going to yell at me for this. He oversees customer service. You won't get him the first time on the phone, but if you have any issues can't be solved, Rich is the guy. He's a great guy. Like you, be cool, see through the piece. See through the piece. I.e., like there's holes in it, or turn it so thin you can see through it. That's two different animals. We can do it either way. One way it'd be guaranteed not to break, and one is quite breakable. Might be cool to see through the piece. Or I could just drill some holes in it. Get a Forstner bit out and just drill some holes in it. Holes in it. Okay. Gotcha. Is that with or without resin? Rich is a resin guy too, and loves to cast big pieces with resin just like I do. I've got to do some more of that soon. Resin casting, I got a bunch of wood out here to stabilize, so we'll be doing some stabilizing again here real soon, and resin casting. So we'll see what I can put together. Again, I'll find that burl, and that might just be next week. Okay, gang, I appreciate everybody being here. It is, like I say, about 25 after, 23 after, something like that. Thank you so much for joining me today. Next week, Thursday, 1 o'clock, barring any craziness in the world, I'll be here. I'm loving it. It's nice and cool. It's all good. The sound works good. The cameras are working. The end camera didn't go all jumpy on me after I unplugged it overnight, so it's a good deal. I wish I could play that video again. I don't know if I can do that from here or not. And then I'll let it end with that. I got to figure out how to do that. I don't know which one that is. Let me see. I want to find a way how to do this. All right, I think I got it. I will get all this automation figured out because I love automation. Again, thank you everybody, and I'll see you next week.